All right, so this is the key takeaway post, my episode titled Parkour, Turning the City into Your Playground with Jesse Danger. In this episode, what I want to do is talk more so about why I think parkour is such a valuable tool for the mind and the body. And if you never decide to participate in parkour, I want you to take away what are some principles and lessons and knowledge that we can get from parkour that you can apply to any activity, but in particular, how you design your exercise routine. There's some things that stand out to me about parkour that gave me some good reminders, and you can apply to any activity that you decide to do, or just how you reprogram your mind around exercise and how you think about it in your life and in your routine. So the big thing that I want you to think about is how in everything that we do in life, we want to integrate mind, body, and spirit together. Many times in our world, we're always isolating. In school, we train the mind, we neglect the body. In fitness spaces, we train our body, but we neglect the mind, right? It's a static environment. There's not much strategic thinking and things like that happen there. So we often try to isolate these things, but the richest experiences and the things that are going to preserve us to our optimal ability is when mind, body, and spirit are all at their best, and activities that integrate all three. Whenever your spirit is down, it's going to impact your body. If you're not challenged mentally, it's going to impact your body, and vice versa in both ways. So we need to consider all three. Many times I tend to get into some debates with gym bros a bit, and I am a gym bro myself, right? So, or I have a piece of that. I have many pieces in my life that make me who I am. But many gym bros will say things like, all you need to do is lift and walk, and that's all you need. And I love the fact that that's a low entry point. I love that it makes it accessible to the masses and people feel like it's more attainable in their life. But you need more than that. It's not just about building mass and being alive. You also need to engage your spirit and challenge your mind in order to make the most of life, in order to be at your physical best. A lot of times this stuff, though, becomes a little bit hard to quantify when we talk about, how the spirit and the mind are engaged and the value of it. So many fitness people tend to move away from it. It's like, well, lifting weights is simple, cut and dry, very predictable. You can progress it very simple. But these things that are a little harder to quantify, the spirit and the mind, when it comes to movement, why are they so valuable? And what are the things that we're actually talking about? And I'll use parkour as the example. So in regard to your spirit, a big thing is risk. Do you participate in an activity that requires a degree of risk? Could you say that strength training has a degree of risk? I mean, anything has a degree of risk. But I'm talking about something a little more. Think about parkour, right? When you're on a box and you're standing there and there's another box over here, there's a little space in between. If you don't make that jump and you fall, you're going to get yourself hurt. Now, you cannot be thinking about the past. You cannot be thinking about the future. You cannot be on your cell phone. You can't think about the argument that you had earlier with your spouse or whatever it is. You have to be here in this present moment, and it demands your attention. Those two words there I got from Jesse, by the way. He said, how many times do you participate in activities that demand your attention? And I thought that was so good. Now, I'm not saying that people should be going and jumping off buildings and risking getting hurt. What he also says in the episode is, of course, proper progression. So it might be something as simple as balancing on one foot. And that might be your challenge that feels a little risky for you. But what you also really, do is it becomes a mindfulness activity, because you have to understand when today is a yes, when today is a no. Jesse calls it the pre-flight checklist. Before you do anything, you go through a couple of questions that he have, these standard questions, and if any of them are a no, you don't do it. You really, at the end of the day, you're not really taking much of a risk if you do what he's saying in the correct way. What's really happening is you're in a room that has a bunch of potential risks around you. And now you have to mentally run through your mind each of them and think, which one am I capable of actually doing? And You only do the one that you know you're physically capable of doing. And if you feel in any way, shape, or form that this might not be something that you can do, then you don't do it. So it's more so that you're constantly assessing risk. You're not actually taking risks as much because you only do the things you're physically capable of if you follow his pre-flight checklist the way that he says, right? And then we celebrate, even if it was a no, we celebrate that. You know, there's times he said you go up on the box and you just see what that feels like. And that alone is enough of a feeling to be in the present moment. And you might not even jump, just being there and feeling what it feels like to be on something high off the ground. So risk, anytime you have a risk factor, you're now engaging the spirit and the emotions because you have to be, it demands your attention and you have to be fully here in this present moment. One of the biggest problems of our day is attention. So people are constantly distracted, looking at their cell phone, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, thinking about all these different things that are not currently right here. And the moment you start doing parkour, you're immediately in this present moment in the room. So that's one of the first big things. And so whether you do it again through parkour, you do it through another activity that has some risk. Maybe there's rock climbing. What I like about rock climbing, you're attached by top rope. So you're taking this risk, and it feels very scary, but if you fall, the rope catches you, and there's really not much of a risk there. In fact, in the episode, I think Jesse said with parkour, and they take these stats with their team all the time, with his organization, they're lower, the injury rate is lower than ping pong with, the people that he works with. So like you're not actually taking as much of a risk you think, but you're in environments that pose threats and you're constantly assessing this. So it demands your attention. You're in the present moment. It's a mindfulness component. You're here and now. The second piece is about challenging the mind though. And one of the things you get in parkour, there's two things. One, I think traditionally it's a little more done in the outdoors. There are now some parkour gyms, but I'm thinking more the exploring your outdoors, right? So you're kind of running, climbing, jumping on things in an urban environment. It could be also in the woods and stuff like that too, but many times it takes place in the outdoors. Mark Berman, he runs the Nature Lab. I forgot which college it is, but you could Google him, check him out. But he constantly stresses the importance of the outdoors. You know, some of the things that we get in the outdoors are these subtle changes. No 2 days are ever exactly the same. The sun always sets a little different, rises a little different. The wind blows a little bit of a different way. There's maybe an animal that goes by, birds, whatever. And that subtle bit of movement is very, very good for the brain. So even though it's outside of your conscious awareness, it's more of a stimulus. So you can think about this as challenge. You could also think of it as a stimulus. Jesse says he has a Tuesday night class that no matter what the weather is, the year round, they always go outside. And I absolutely love that. They go to all different places around the city too, which adds to its playfulness component, which I'll get to in a bit. But being in the outdoors is going to be a stimulus for your brain, and that's one. But two is also this idea of complex movement. What you see with things about like dance and martial arts, you constantly have to learn new motor skills and put things together in weird and unique ways. So I might put together this like martial art or gymnastics flip that I do, like a martial art kata move, and like now I run through this obstacle in this way that, right? So I have to have very precise and accurate movement. And whenever the body moves in very complex and precise ways, it challenges the brain in a way that is very, very good. We also see that in nature, a lot of the most complex movers or animals that have something on their body that moves in a complex way tend to also be the ones that are highly intelligent. It's also what has helped us through, in evolutionary terms, to outsmart other animals, but also to outmaneuver other animals to avoid becoming food and to find food. We're not the biggest, we're not the strongest, but we're very strategic. And so complex movement, strategy, all these things help to preserve the brain in unique ways and use the brain in ways that it's intended to be used. And if I think about a monkey swinging through the trees, that monkey, right, there's other branches that are swinging. They have to dodge them, move, time it perfectly. There's so much math going on that you can't even appreciate because it's outside of your conscious awareness. But all that precise and coordinated movement is challenging your brain. And it's the same thing that's happening when you're running through obstacles in a parkour setting. You're challenging that side of your brain. So sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's unconscious. But that obstacle course in the outdoors is challenging your brain in a good way. So we have those big things there. We have the spirit being engaged with this risk component, bringing you into the present moment. We have obstacles and highly coordinated movement that forces the brain and body to do a lot of math that's outside of their conscious awareness, but uses the brain in ways that we've evolved to be. And then you're also using the body. You're moving with strength, speed, power. Your heart's pumping to deliver oxygen, all of these things. And you're now integrating mind, body, and spirit. It's a little bit harder to measure your progress, right? Like if I lifted 50 pounds today and 55 tomorrow. But that's really, I think, when you're going to feel the most alive is when you're participating in things that incorporate all three. So you can still isolate. I still lift weights and go to the gym. I can still have times where I sit down and just read and I don't involve my body too much. But I do those things as a means to an end. The ultimate goal, I read so that I could be smarter, so that I can do these things better. I lift weights so that I have the strength to be able to do these things better. But what are these things that I'm talking about? I'm talking about the things where you engage mind, body, spirit, and you're out there living in the world. If you think about all the best moments of your life, it was probably when your mind, body, and spirit were all engaged. So if you want to be at your physical best, you have to consider all three. You have to lift up all three. Just lifting weights and walking is not enough. You need more than that. You're a human being that needs to live and engage with the world in unpredictable and dynamic ways. It could be subtly unpredictable and dynamic. It doesn't have to be so extreme that you're now this extreme outdoor adventure seeker, right? But you have to get outside. You have to engage with people. You have to engage with your environment. And, in an urban environment that we live in, I think parkour is a pretty cool way to do that. You might not be as comfortable running and jumping on things randomly outside, but, you could do it with a group. You could go to your park and do it. And if parkour is not your thing, you could find another way to do it. So it also has to be a regular part of your life. The majority of my day should not be sitting in a school and lifting in a gym and then going home and going to sleep. Like, I should regularly participate in things where I'm alive. I should do parkour regularly, or I should play a sport regularly. I should dance regularly. Friday night, I should go out and dance. Yeah, that's great. Go out and live, right? That's what you should be doing. So the way I think about my exercise routine, I constantly preach this idea of a way of life. And that's the whole thing with my big 8, right? The big 8 physical activities for health and wellness. So parkour is a good reminder of that for me. The last piece I'll leave you with is around play. There's this idea of the jam with parkour. And the jam is kind of like you show up and you come whenever you want. You leave whenever you want. You kind of like, it's not exactly a structured class. It's people playing and exploring and trying different things and putting things together. And I often see that a little bit at like the rock climbing gym too. There's a lot of parallels between these two activities. But I don't think your workout routine should always be this fight or flight, super stressful thing. You also want to engage with fitness in a playful way. I think there's the ability for it to be a lot more sustainable. If you think about animals in nature, most of their day they're chilling. They have a couple moments where they might have to, have these extreme moments in their day where they're maybe running from being hunted, or running in the hunt or something like that. But the majority of the day, they're kind of sitting, hanging out. I watched this video of bears the other day where they actually watched the sunset. You also look at animals and they all play. Why do they all still play? Because what they're usually doing is they're preserving areas that will be used for they're preserving skills and tools that will be used in survival situations later. If you think about play fighting, you are working your strength, you're working your aerobic health, you're working all the, be able to grip and push and pull. And now if you had to use this in a survival scenario, you can. But if I'm always in fight or flight mode and I'm always actually really fighting people, and fighting the world and always in this fight, it's not going to be very sustainable. You're going to burn out. So when you add in a playful approach to it, you can actually do it a little more sustainably. Jesse has Tuesday nights. You can actually, they meet up all around the city, rain or shine, all year round. I absolutely love that for all the reasons I just said. They're called the Movement Creative. Check them out on Instagram. So Tuesday nights, join one of their sessions. It's donation based. So then there's also Wednesday night. They meet at Ferox in Greenpoint or Williamsburg, and they play in there as well. So another cool jam to join and run and jump on things. Myself, I constantly run and jump on things right outside my house. Sometimes I'm going to dinner on a Friday night. I'll jump up, hit the sign, or there's those signs in front of the store that are about hip hype, and I just kind of run and jump over it, or I'll see things. And you could do this right outside your house. You could do it in your park, anywhere, anytime. It's valuable to have that playful approach. So, all right, a lot of good gems there. Find activities that you could take risks, challenge your brain, incorporate a little more jam and playfulness. I'm not saying that these are necessarily the answers to everything, but these are some good reminders to me from that parkour episode that I thought were really important to share and might help you rethink how you design your exercise routines and which types of activities you prioritize in order to remain at your peak performance. So I'll catch you all soon. I hope you tune into the full episode. See you guys.